social division of ICLAC, the specialists and of course I have the pleasure of introducing our director in the division of development of ICLAC, the minister that's going to give some introductory words. Alberto. Thank you, Claudia, and good afternoon to everyone. Esteemed ministers that are here with us, ministers of development of Chile, Minister of Human Development of Costa Rica, Tadeo Rojas, Minister of Social Development of Paraguay, Emalia, the Minister of, and of course, Claudia Roles of ICLAC. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, certainly to the minister, our host minister in Barbados, Kirk Humphrey. It is an honor for me to be able to welcome this parallel event that we have organized of ICLAC with the title of the expansion of social registers to advance the implementation of labor inclusive policies in the face of reconfiguring risk structure, and inserts in the project that we are implementing from ICLAC, centered around a productive economic transition. Take advantage to follow the cooperation and the systems of protection in the region. In the last few years, Latin America and the Caribbean has faced many crises. The COVID-19 pandemic, disasters, and the effects of climate change, which have been very important changes for the region. And in the context of crisis, because low capacity to grow and high inequality and low mobility and weak institutional governance, and it has affected the countries of the region. This system, we only have response from emergency numbers, which they need to respond. This includes transformations in the technological world, in the world of work, in demographics, oriented towards the protection of earnings and the capacity and human capacity. Why speak about human inclusion and labor registries? The labor inclusion is noted as a component of social development, counting on the most vulnerable, identifying the barriers to labor access and access programs of social development, mechanisms that activate quickly so that these systems can activate preventative systems to play a relevant role in moments that it is essential to activate policies. And the climate change can lead to a loss of jobs equivalent to 2 million jobs. The social registries and systems of information is an integral column of social development, and this results in an impact in the protection of social development, systems of protection of social development, universal, integral, sustainable. Opportunity to review the document that we just published. The document is digital social protection. This document is the fruit of the same discussions that have been around in the work groups and the concerns that have been raised by the countries in the region. The future is ever more digital, and for this reason, the social protection is going to be, without any doubt, conditioned to these changes. This has impacts. The digital social protection allows us to face the challenges and take advantage of other social protections. Lastly, the successful exchanges and reflections about how to advance the application of social registers. So it is important to consider the advancement of the databases for the cooperation of our population and their vulnerabilities in the policies of labor inclusion to advance towards inclusive social development. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alberto, for your words. And the task is the main key to combat the inequality in this region. And for this, it is important that the inclusion policies of strength and protection in the Caribbean, this is fundamental with information, with social registries and the solid social information, and it's important to have spaces of dialogue and reflections around best practices and the challenges that we face, the common challenges that we face, to be able to advance in the framework of these advances. Let us listen to the intervention of our panelists. We have asked them to reflect in 10 minutes about two questions that we're going to read very briefly. I just would like to comment about the intervention of Paraguay. Mr. Tadeo Rojas, we're here with the technical director of the Social Cabinet of Paraguay. That they're going to do their presentation together. The questions are: what are the opportunities and the challenges, the institutional, for the process of expansion of the cover of social registries, especially for vulnerable populations, and facing the challenges of the climatic crisis that we've been talking about these days. What role do they play, or can they play in the countries of the region? Each panelist will have 10 minutes for their intervention. Firstly, the Minister Tadeo Toro, the Minister of Chile. Minister. Thank you, Claudia. Good afternoon again to our colleagues, our representatives, the countries. Thank you, ICLAC, for the organization of this table and this participation. It is a conversation just about this subject, about social registers and how can we improve and learn from the experiences that different countries have. The social registers are instrumental or key for vulnerable groups. What is especially important is the expansion of coverage of social registries and the disposition of these registries to offer quality. Of course, in Chile, the social registry of homes presents a coverage of 85% of the national population, registering information of 9 million homes and 17 million people. There are many factors that have favored the expansion of social registry of homes, the availability of internet, the access of mobile phones in most of the country, a unique password that is used widely in password to access public services, the existence and use of unique national rule, and it's very collected and it's allow us to identify people that need the use, and the ability to interoperate data. Other has been the flexible information available during the pandemic and in its emergency. Without a doubt, one of the most determining factors has been the automatization of the collection of economic information. Without the need for in March of 2023, we established a modality in the SOAP theme, the 40% most vulnerable of the population, according to the social registry. So we can cover a very significant part of families, and so they are not losing the right to their benefits. Around 400,000 children were added in with this automatic form. And one of the main challenges that we've been identifying has to do with maintaining the information updated. Updating the information of the homes can be compromised with the registers and the assignments, and specific vulnerable groups exist, like migrants, rural communities, isolated communities, indigenous communities that can be underrepresented in the social registries because of technological difficulties in integrating in the system. High incidence of access to internet that generate barriers in social registers. Expand the coverage to include these groups requires expansion that includes their specific necessities in a coordinated manner as would be done by local governments. One of the databases very important of the country. There are still challenges, the form in which the government relates with the citizens, and this has provoked the existence of multiple platforms of attention and realization of transactions. Requests from the state for some people, as was mentioned, as a subsidiary in families, and the deepening in the registry of citizens as beneficiaries. We consider from the start the program of the government VORIT that has improved the situation of members of the state. Our ministry has begun a great program of digital transformation called Digital Ecosystem that consists mainly in a web platform that has all the information of the ministry and all the related services, with the objective that people could find information and do transactions in social programs in one place, in one central place. Checking the challenges of the transformation of the world, the climate crisis and the disasters brings us important challenges that the social registries have to deal with in the context of recent transformations in the world. The registry allows vulnerable groups that face greater obstacles and barriers, like women, young people, disabled persons. The identification of these people is fundamental to promote political policies that assist them in their work market, including initiatives of capacity building. These registers allow the facilitation of the follow-up policies, of implemented policies in the context of climate crisis, such as we have spoken about in these days. It can accelerate and facilitate. In Chile, the instruments that we use in emergencies is the mechanisms of emergency funded by public access. As long as the climate conditions exist in affected zones, FIDA permits the magnitude of damages and the emergency personnel to arrive with help. And products of catastrophic elements offer a quick diagnosis adjusted to the necessities of the affected population. We also should demonstrate that the best offers of social programs, the ministry works constantly in the incorporation of administrative registers. For example, a modification that we realize in the area of socio-economic policy, when information from other ministries was used to identify the capacity of persons. Thankfully, we have access to this data, and we could update it automatically. These registers without having to go and do it manually. Other administrative registries have to do with the interconnection that we effect in the register of homes in terms of food that has been created in our country. A mother, father, women that have not been receiving food for a child. These things appear in the registers, and at the same base, someone that has not been paying the attention to food and the better uses of the registers that the state uses. Definitely, the use of social registries don't just facilitate the registration of social conditions. Finally, I would like to highlight the incorporation of the dimensions of care in the social public policies and to the framework of this challenge are to summarize the care as part of social protection. In social policies that we have detailed in our instance also have a correlation in our social registries through special models. The social registry of Chile from 2022 counts with a register that registers more than 140,000 caretakers. This register meets the requirements of recognizing the task of caring for vulnerable parts of the population with valuable information about socio-political situations and benefits through different factors Lastly, it offers access and benefits, especially destined to promote the unpaid care, and we are instituting a network to monitor caretakers and the benefits and the
que tienen los registros sociales para avanzar en mayores grados de bienestar para nuestras poblaciones. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister, for sharing your experience, to add your elements in various environments. Beyond the questions of identification of persons and the priority and the analysis and the monitoring and evaluation that permits these fundamental tools in these countries, and very much in demand, like we have been discussing in these days. The emergencies that we've seen in Chile, which we have seen have been very important, and the advances, the fundamental advances in the national system supports and care with the potential of the social registry in Chile. And now I have the honor of leaving you with the Minister Yoleni Leon from Costa Rica. Minister, your time. Thank you, Senora Claudia. The questions that you have asked us in this panel, in a successful way, some of the strategies that we have implemented, and the coverage of today, the country has a coverage of 100. This allows us access, not 100%, but very close to this in conditions of poverty. This has formed part of some successful strategies that we've been applying in Costa Rica. One is the obligation of all the institutions to use the classification that generates the register of beneficiaries. So we're talking about social cuts, that they don't leave the registration that generates the register. There's poverty, extreme poverty or vulnerability. And this classification has to accompany the motivation and the justification of the administrative act. In this case, the handing out of a subsidiary in a very quick form to integrate a large quantity of people in the register. See, if I am in condition of poverty and I require a subsidy and I'm not in the registry, I am going to request to be in the registry because it is a requirement so that they can give me benefits. On the other side, it obligates the institutions and motivates the institutions to have to fill in as soon as possible and update the information of this registry, because one of the targets of transparency is that there is a budget that they have to execute, and if the beneficiaries of this this budget are not in the registry, and so you cannot give them this transfer, I am not complying with the target that I have. And so it is a win-win for both sides. It's a win-win for the institution, but it's also a win for the people. The other is we have been able to make that all of the functionaries for the hierarchy, for all of the different institutions, they can fill in the register of social information, and they can update the register of social information when the Minister of Social Development arrives. You understand understand that
entonces en un cuello de
it has been
botella
converted in a
realmente
set of
significativo, porque no todas las
really
instituciones tienen
significant,
esta categoría profesional
because
y
they
no
don't all
todos
have
tienen
this
en
this
abundancia este tipo de
in abundance this type
Entonces,
of
abrimos
professional,
esa llave
and so
de tal
we
forma
open this
que
key in a way that each
cada jefe inmediato designa el
hierarchy
personal que
and
puede
immediate
hacer
boss
el llenado por primera
distinguishes
vez
the
la inclusión
person
o
that
la
can be,
actualización de
or
los datos.
the
Por supuesto que
update
tenemos una serie de
of the
reglas de
information.
negocios que
You
todas
can be, it can be a
las
rule of
personas y los
business that
tienen
has
que
all the
cumplir
people
para
and that they
poderle
have to
otorgar
comply
ese
to be able to give
permiso,
out this
o los
permission
diferentes permisos que se
or
requieren
different
para
permissions
hacer
that are required
este asunto.
for this
Un
subject.
elemento
Another
importante, yo
element
debo
that
decir
is
que sí
important
nos ha costado mucho más de lo que yo
that
hubiera
has
esperado,
cost a lot
es
more
la
than what I
firma
had
de
hoped
convenios para
is the
interoperar con otras instituciones. Porque cada
to be able
institución
to
se siente
incorporate with
dueña de
other
sus
institutions,
propios datos.
because each one feels like they're
Aunque
the
es la
owner
misma
of their
persona que está en 10
information,
instituciones,
although it's the
cada
same person
institución
in
se siente
10
dueña de esa persona. Entonces, esto ha
institutions.
sido
Each
una de
institution
las
feels like
luchas
an
más,
owner
creo
of
yo,
this person. So this is one of the
Hoy, sin
fights
embargo, tenemos un
most
sistema
significant.
que tiene una
Today we
gran
have a
cantidad
system
de
that has
registros
a large amount of
administrativos.
information
Por
of
ejemplo,
administrative
tenemos los
registers. For example, we have
administrativos del
administrative
Registro
registers,
Nacional de la Propiedad.
national
Tenemos los
of the
registros
of property,
administrativos de la Dirección General de
administrative
Migración y
registers
Extranjería, en este caso para migrantes. Tenemos los
immigrants.
registros de la seguridad
We have registers
social,
of social
pensiones del
security,
régimen no
pensions,
contributivo,
of the
las viviendas
non-contributory
que se otorgan
pensions,
por bono de la vivienda.
sectors
Y ya estamos
of
próximos a
bonus,
incorporar
and we are
los NIS
almost to the
que se
point of
otorgan, que es un tipo de identidad
incorporating
para cada servicio
NIS,
eléctrico
which
y
are
para
for
cada
each electrical
servicio de
service
agua.
and
Ya
each
tenemos los convenios firmados
water
y me
service
parece
of
que ya
water.
estamos empezando con
And so I
esa
think that we are already
interoperabilidad.
beginning
Pero también
with
tenemos los
this
datos de las niñas y
interoperation.
los niños que
We
están
have
en la
information
red de
of the
cuidado,
children
las
that
niñas
are
y los
in
niños que están en el
the
Ministerio de
network of
Educación
care, that are in the
Pública, y así
public education,
sucesivamente. Todo esto a
ministry,
partir de
and all
convenios
of this
que nos
apart
permiten
from
entonces tener
agreements
registros
that allow us to
administrativos, en
have
algunos casos, que
administrative
alimentan
registers
muchísimo
that
más
feed
el
more
algoritmo y nos
the
permiten tener
algorithm
entonces
and
un
allows us
perfil
to
cada
have
vez más
a
certero y
profile
por supuesto,
that
y
is
por tanto,
each time more
una
accurate
caracterización más acertada de estas personas.
for these
Han
people.
sido elementos
So
favorables
there
para
we've
Costa
seen
Rica,
favorable
la
elements for
penetración de la
Costa Rica,
conectividad que
the
tenemos.
penetration
Esto ha
of
facilitado
connectivity that we
muchísimo la
have.
adopción
It
de
has
esta-
facilitated
de esta,
the adoption
herramienta.
of this
Y también ha sido
tool,
muy favorable
and it has
para
also
Costa
been
Rica
favorable
contar
for
con
Costa
una
Rica
identidad
be able to
única
count
desde que las
on
personas nacen hasta que las personas mueren. Y eso
as,
entonces nos permite
from the time people are born to the time they die, we have a treatment that is 100% true, and the assignment in the registers that are absorbing in the system. It has been marvelous, the implementation of transactions that we've arrived at. I would like to tell you about the potent, how potent this tool has been for our growth in 2022-2023 Costa Rica, with a budget of 20,000. In this moment, it was 26%, and we took the decision to give a subsidiary 11,000 homes that benefited from this subsidiary. They had to be, they didn't have to do anything. The only thing they had to do was go to the bank and take the money or use the money that they had in their cards, in their bank accounts. Not one document. And this we could do with a quick, that you quickly, that you could not imagine. And we arrived at 36,000 homes that never have received attention from the state and that were in conditions of extreme poverty. If we have put all of the social sector equipment to look for these 36,000 homes, they might have taken a whole year or maybe even 2 years. So we did it in 2 months. In 2 months it was approved, and in 2 months Costa Rica Rico
ese
was
subsidio
distributing
por
the
inflación.
first
Y en
resources
este momento estamos
for these
cubriendo
people.
el
In this
100%
moment,
de los
we are
estudiantes
covering
de
100%
secundaria que están en
the
condición de pobreza y
secondary
pobreza
students
extrema con
that
una
are
beca
in
de avanceo.
conditions of poverty
En
and
este
extreme
proceso
poverty.
de búsqueda activa de
In
los
this sense,
estudiantes a partir
looking for
de
these
la
students
interoperabilidad que tenemos con el
and the
Ministerio de Educación Pública, encontramos
interoperation that we have with the Ministry of Education, we found 15,000 students in conditions of extreme poverty that have never received a monetary transfer from the government. And you couldn't imagine that we had at least so many that hadn't received anything. And this was so quickly as to request a list of students that were in conditions of poverty, in extreme poverty, and this way we could identify them. Today in the Ministry of Development in the Institute, one of the biggest institutions in the social sector, the only thing that a person has to take to receive a subsidiary is bring their ID card to know that this person is really the person that the subsidy corresponds to. You do not have to take absolutely nothing else. And this has been possible because each time we incorporate more and more registries, administrative registries that are growing in this fabulous tool. And in terms of inclusion, social inclusion, how to use this tool to promote inclusion, labor inclusion. In the Mixed Institute, we are pushing an institution called IMAS Impulse. There are two routes. One is the ampliation, and the other is the self-employment. There can be persons, homes that can meet the established profile through this tool, this technological tool. Also, aside from being able to identify them, we are building with each one a plan, and this plan is digitalized and is connected with the system of unique registry of beneficiaries, and so we can do follow-ups. The national strategy for excellence in the subject of employability is also connected the system of extreme poverty and very specifically with profiles of persons that have up to 36 years old. The national network of care children between 0 and 12 years of age is profiling women and it's to their work or their care in exchange for care of their children, and you can find these women and understand their profile and give benefits of network care in the condition of having to work or study has been possible to this tool, due to this tool. And this week was the International Day of Care. We launched a program that's called Cuidar Más, Care More, where in a voluntary manner we find to offer different services and more care. It has a great base of caretakers that form part of the institution. They give some benefit. They can be there and they allow us to know how it works, and this person is a caretaker or is a person that requires care and so requires a special treatment within the management. These are some of the things that Costa Rica are doing. I don't have the least doubt that we can do much more things with such valuable tools as what we have. We have great challenges that are connected, like how to drive the updating of our information, how to deal with issues of immigrants, and how to each time more and more some populations that have access, their access is not as wide or as great as other national groups. For example, the elderly, sometimes it costs them a bit to draw closer to technology, or for example, the indigenous. So I will finalize inviting all countries to take advantage of these tools and to work strong in the consolidation of these tools, not just in social protection, but they also have a great value in social protection, as in the issue of employment. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for sharing the valuable information of Costa Rica. Being able to reach that coverage, the challenge of the interoperability, of course, and how we have advanced and to strengthen these tools in multiple dimensions and the use and in all the other ambits that you have mentioned. I want to thank you because you have been one of those promoters of this creation of the working group regarding this social development in Latin America and the Caribbean. Next, I want to leave with you and present, of course, Minister of Social Development, Mr. Rojas, and I understand that he will continue the presentation done by Hector Cardenas, of Paraguay. Thank you very much for your participation, Paraguay. Go ahead. Thank you very much. A very good afternoon to you. A cordial greeting to all, each and everyone. I am Alberto Arena and all the work team of ECLAC. Mr. Robles, thank you for the cooperation always received from ECLAC for many years, having achieved several advancements, and my minister colleagues and to the host. Today's was very fruitful, and we are finishing with this very important meeting as well, too, considering that what is a social registry is a fundamental tool for the work that we do regarding to social protection and the fight against poverty. It's essential so that we can have so it can be well focused. In this regard, I want to say to you that based on the opportunities that we see and we consider what this team is all about, it's a very important team, and we think that the expansion of the coverage of those social registries to the poor, the vulnerable population will permit us to have a solid base of social information, and we are having that, we're trying to achieve that in our country. The Ministry of Social Development is applying a social registry of homes in the auto modality, self-declaration modality, to implement an act to benefit the vulnerable sectors of youth who finish their middle education and they don't have access to tertiary education. This is so that they can have the possibility to have tertiary education with regard to their university careers in the public universities, and in this regard it is very useful because the youth who have greater facilities of access to the technology that they are using it, and with this we are given a certification with which they can apply to universities for those limited careers that they're interested in having, and so this helps them to. So that way they're enjoying those benefits. Today we are working with the National Institute of Statistics through the cabinet, the social cabinet, the President Peñas. He has put under our coordination the Ministry of Social Development, and we have achieved to be able to interact with more than 29 institutions of the executive power, which were very dispersed before. As the minister from Costa Rica, I was saying, each one with their own database and without having access to that interoperability which is necessary so that we can have identify the more vulnerable sectors, and today we are working in a more coordinated fashion, and through the technical unit, the social cabinet, the executive director, our colleague Neil, who's been working with me in this, the Hector Cardona, also we are working on a presentation which is the integrated system of digital information, which we are working on to give you to give a more legal format with a law that we are trying to present, to a draft bill that we are trying to present to the law, so that the institution should join, and at the same time making the integration in a more uniform fashion of all these systems. After a year and 2 years and 2 months, having assumed, we realize that each institution has its own system of social registry of homes, and that is taking a little bit of time still. So that we want to be able to uniform and have codes, interoperable codes among themselves, so that we can have the necessary authority. We consider that the social registry of homes undoubtedly is a key tool. So nowadays we're dealing with 68% of coverage of what is a non-contributory pension for the elderly. We have approximately 190,000 families who are receiving monetary grants, and we are working in the education sector with the program Zero Hunger in the school. So that, from the month of August this year, we have implemented 450,000 children benefiting from this, and we're going to increase that to another 530,000 more, and this school feeding program, breakfast, lunch, as well as a snack in the evening. And this involves it requires involvement of techniques and tools, so that we can have a social registry that will allow us to avoid all those problems and avoid duplicity, and which we are also finding in these months that we after we have started. So that I value this event, and I thank again ICLAC. We are always expecting the cooperation that they can give us, and give me take this opportunity to give present my colleague to give a presentation and the effort to have a social registry that is more centralized and more and better planned, so that it can be useful for us in the coming months. And I reiterate the cooperation of ECLAC. If you allow me, Mr. Claudia, I want to pass the floor over to you, the Executive Director of the Technical Unit of the Social Government for the Presidency of the Republic, so that he can present what we are doing today with regard to the digital integrated system and the social registry for the inclusion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everyone. Briefly, I wanted to present a situation, as the minister was saying, where we are now in Paraguay. Basically, we have an integrated information system, which is a great database. It's a repository of databases from distinct institutions in the countries. As the minister was saying, of the 28 institutions that make up the social cabinet, 26 institutions are reporting their programs and projects aimed at the poor and the more vulnerable populations. And only 120, 200, we have more than 6 million inhabitants. With regard to participants, we are reaching almost the half. We are of the population with different programs, but not with a format that of a single feature in the region. But the effort what we're doing is the creation of this database. The creation of this database. The next point, basically, what we do is from the technical unit having access to several databases. To have certainty that of the persons, as my colleague said, to ensure that the person is the person who is to receive the assistance, and that there are no mistakes made. With regards to things like birth, social security, and deaths and marriage, that would allow us to assure us of the identity of that person, and to ensure that we have a report of what the benefits or access to programs that person has. Basically, the minister talked about the topic and other, which we call the crisis, which was started with which caused the states to, in the case of Paraguay, we have tried to have a mechanism, innovative mechanism. In this case, is the self-declaration to aim at creating a single feature. A single token. We continue to have those challenges which all the other countries practically have. In our case, we need to create a single instrument. The Minister of Costa Rica also mentioned it, as well as Paraguay. Every institution continues to think that they have the best feature or token, they have which will save the country. And in this effort, in this conversation, and these agreements, we are now trying to present it to the Parliament, a draft bill which would oblige, which would mandate the presentation of a single feature for all the institutions. Of course, the topic of coverage is another challenge to improve the quality, improving and updating the quality of information. This topic of interoperability will be is a challenge. That's the process in which we are now, where we are now. That quantity of institutions, I say 26 ministries, in more than 100 programs. What we are doing is to clean that database so that they can converse among each other, and And after doing a check of the police registry, with the registry of electoral registry with the databases, we are integrating that in a big single database system, which once it is polished, cleaned up, it will become the register to statistical register. This is another way of database cloud in the cloud. We are working towards that. We are not there yet, but we are integrating the different programs. We reach that database that is unified. We are going to have the single fiche, which is going to be implemented in all the institutions, and that will what will serve for the system of the social system and the expansion of this social registry. You mentioned it, the topic of the information in itself, so that you can have access to specific programs through scholarships and in this parallel side event, it's good to have. This is a great success, having systems installed and a database that will be of great assistance for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Tadeo Rojas, for recognizing the work that has been doing in Paraguay to expand coverage, to integrate registers, integrate systems in social registries of homes, and of course, this is something that we've been insisting on since the conference on development. The question of universal pensions. Now, I would like to allow our commentators, Luis Tejerina, the lead specialist. So now we're going to allow him to speak. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry that I arrived a bit late. I was in a committee to the project with Barbados, so it was for a good reason. Appreciate the invitation, and for me it's an honor to be a part of a panel of this level, and I hope that what I can contribute would be useful, and hopefully it can be something. It is difficult to give general recommendations in social systems in our region because there are different levels of majority. So the comments that will be applied to one system might not apply to another. And so I'm going to do a little bit of everything. In the position that I need to be in, I have to see a lot of projects in a lot of different countries, many projects in many sectors. And so I usually have to see the experiences of those that go well and those that go poorly, and important recommendations. And I think that there some are beginning or some in a middle stage, and it's something that I like to highlight, and I believe is key, is the non-linear nature of digital programs. What I mean by this, many times use an image of someone jumping over a cliff, and this person achieves 90% of the distance, they're still going to fall. Why do I say this? Because in the projects of digital, is important to start with everything. And if you don't start with and if you don't have everything, then it's better to not start. You can end up pausing at a certain point, and these programs do not work. So what we're going to do is enter well one time with all of the effort. have a dedicated team, for example, to the digital transformation that has a strong connection with the direction of the institution and have the support of the institution, giving a clear signal that this is serious and is supported. Many times we have people that have our jobs and trying to implement digital transformation, and for as good as they are, they won't be able to complete it. So it's important that you go all in, and in terms of the things that go around it, and I like to hear that they're preparing a law, because it's one of the things that the creation of a law that gives rise to the legitimacy of the system. Because it's in the law, and the law says that this is the legitimate route to do ABC. And so the other one is the subject of people changes, communication, cultural changes, so that people feel good and use intentionally the system that we are creating. Maybe for those that are in the middle stage, it's very important to do the economic case for the stability of these systems. What does this mean? Be clear on what are the costs, short-term, medium and long-term costs, and how we can reduce those costs. It's usually the case that in this type of system, people that see from outside say that it is expensive. And sometimes I've done it. I draw the cost of maintaining a system, updated system, against the amount of resources used. So sometimes it can be 20, 30 times larger. So if we have an investment of 100 or 1,000, then so we have to document it, calculate it. We have to demonstrate it, communicate it well, so that to the other parts of the government. So they're not saying if something or no. So they're saying it intends each one making a strong case. Where do we invest? Someone with a budget is saying in what do I invest? One has to make the case that not that the investment is good, but that it's better than other investments. These are terms of the economic part. But another benefit that is usually the case a bit later in these systems has a lot to do with the confidence of the population. It's very important if you're going to talk about public spending. You have to have the confidence of the public that you're using their resources well. You could be using those resources well, but in these social resources, they help in the performance, and with the law that supports it, and the algorithm that they can be. It may be that we don't do it perfect, but what are the steps? How are we doing it in a form that can be understood, so they can say yes, the resources I understand and I agree, or I don't understand, and you can have an informed voice with respect. So the reduction of accounts, I've had to explain this, what's the process, and we've had good results in terms of the acceptance of the population in terms of what we're doing with these resources. A last final point, and maybe for the more mature system, have in your systems have something very important. For one side, we can see a large part of the population that can benefit very quickly from the necessary resources. But now have in our systems allows us to know. It can be very small, but it's very important. People that are in the industry of systems of public, it can be a small population, but it doesn't mean that they're not important when it has to do with the social registries. It allows us to have a measurement and see where we can take actions using the technology, with satellite images, identifying populations that are outside of the registry. and if we are doing exercises, maybe we can have a crisis. Who are we leaving out each year? And so with this, I finish. I don't know if I'm on time, but
thank you very much. I want to highlight the collaboration which we've had from especially this network that we've been weaving and with the World Bank and in the creation of these registries. It is the collaboration also with ECLAC. Also, I should mention that as well too. That's very important. Okay. Next. We have just a few minutes to attend. We're going to take the floor to Maria Palma, who's going to present this document to come. After that, we're all, they are away from the microphone, and my dear colleague Maria, you have the floor. Go ahead. Thank you very much, Claudia. Thank you very much for the model of the documents. And we're gonna have time to be photo after. Thank you very much to all of you who are still here. It has been a very long day, these 2 days, and we wanted to work and propose this event for the relevance, which have these with the topic of digital transformation in the system of social protection, and also thinking of the active policies. And in this regard, I want to make reference particularly to the document that Claudia mentioned and that we have mentioned presented, where we try to be a bit more, to go a bit more in depth. Why is it important, this digital transformation, and why do we have to think in the digital protection, and why do we talk of the digital inclusion? This is very much in vogue, and then know that there are opportunities that can help us for the social development, but also there are risks that should be confronted in the political policies. We thinking in this, we must think of it from the social side of it, because right now it has been centered on the part of the infrastructure, but we have left on the side the training aspect of it, so that we can be effective and the opportunities in the digital world. What are the benefits that the well-being for this transformation, digital transformation? It has been touched on from the productive side of it, how it can help the economic development and the growth of the countries. But what benefits does it bring for the well-being of the population? Is it a benefit or no? What determines there's a motivation behind this, having access to this? We talked about this equality. The motivation is very present. The intention of the population in this moment. This is almost going to be an obligation, that everything is transformed to digital, so it's become obligatory for everyone to get on board, and is included in social protection from the social institutionality. It is worth asking ourselves what are the rights of the population in this digital world, and how we can support the population which have been excluded from this. Can they help and take advantage of the opportunities presented by this digital transformation? And in this regard, we understand and we propose in this text that the digital inclusion is understood in this context of inclusive social development, to have a full participation of in the digital world, with the protection of the rights of the population and the reduction of risk, considering that this world every day is becoming more and more digitalized, including in the dimensions of social protection. the social dimension. In this regard, digital social protection is going to refer simultaneously to the digital transformation of the policies for social protection, with a special emphasis in elements of management, and then it is going to permit us to reduce those gaps. And we make emphasis to the extent that this digital space is increasing and more the lives are being improved. But this might also be a new risk for the population that has been excluded, and therefore, so that they can take advantage of this, the necessary opportunities, we need to incorporate the policies. Very briefly, some of the reflections I wanted to make with regard to this topic. First, what was said recently, that this is necessary in the sense that the new risks for the population and new possibilities of loss of income, this automation in the labor market, where it's necessary to generate policies of labor inclusion, that you have to confront these resources, these challenges. And this has the role of having these policies for the reduction of these gaps. Another important point was mentioned, in particular with respect to the registries. I'm going to make reference particularly to the topic of the standards, frameworks, and the privacy of information. In the discussions that we've had, the working groups, in the meetings that we've had with the authorities present here, is a topic which appears, the topic of privacy of information, where this digitalization permits us a large number of data, but it implies also that has a regular risk that these data, the information, can be misused, and that's why it's necessary to establish rules and protocols to protect the population, social protection. Digitally, centralized digitation, and not that the technology is the ends to the means, but it's for the betterment, improvement of the population. This protection is important for. We wanted to include in the discussion the topic of labor inclusion and management vis-a-vis the climate change, so we can include information from different sources, and we can take decisions more efficient in the face of these challenges. It's better to prevent better than to cure, and that is key. This is a tool, a key tool for the prevention and public policies, and for the automatization of certain offerings, to the social offerings. As it was mentioned in the case of Chile, with the automation of the granting of the single grant to families. This permits what is possible for the reality, and we can respond in real time to the demands of the population. A key point is to put forward the inclusive algorithms, where we have a topic related to the availability of data, which currently it permits the population to be included. And it's important. If this information is not available, it can be incorporated to the system, and we can have an algorithm that effectively includes the whole population. Finally, to put forward social protection, which will have manual mechanisms. We must be conscious that this public policies can attend to the diversity of population, and not everyone is going to accept these changes in such a quick manner. So that's why it can be a whole digital transformation all at one time. We have to maintain some manual mechanism, so that these things can be gradually changed. Very brief. I invite you to read the document.
Thank you very much, Amalia. Now, we are going to go to Alberto with a survey of a value to judge our work. To the Minister Jonel Leon, Minister, the Secretary Cardenas, and to Amalia Palma, to everyone that have been here to highlight the ministers. And we are very, very thankful the corporate that allows us to be here and that are here represented and supporting us. Thank you, Subdirector. I'm going to but I'm going to lead with the following. With Minister Kirk Humphrey. Give my appreciation having us in your house. The way you have met with us, the way you've received us during these 3 days. Really be thankful to this forum on our table and in this parallel event that seemed like interventions, but it's a great task to arrive at this publication. Thank you for everything that you have done for us here in Barbados. Secondly, in a country of high level, because in the region, when you see the case of Chile and Costa Rica, the force that Paraguay has made are examples. Not every day can you hear. We've heard for 7 to 10 minutes, and really the effort that is behind what has been done, what the minister has done, the effects of fighting against poverty with less resources, the effort that Paraguay is making. These are years and years of work. I would like to highlight it and give what in the region has moved to the forefront. But please, I'd like to highlight this publication. The publication, 8 months of work in 5 minutes. They have summarized it. We spoke with Amelia. 8 months. We have to have 8 months. And with this, I would like to close. With this, I'd like to close. For all of us that are here and that work in subject of social development, the social development includes a fundamental part of the strategies of development of the country. When we speak of inclusive social development, if you ask me, it is a backbone of the development. The poverty, inequality of earning, of gender, in health, in labor inclusion, has to do with the backbone of the backbone of protection systems. Because in the systems of social protection, it's something very important. The backbone is the systems of social registry. And when we are speaking of a protection, a digital social protection, we are talking about the logic that is not just that doesn't have to do with investing in technology information, but invest in technology that is in charge of the rights of people, that goes to the center of people's lives and their rights. What we are investing is in development, and these countries know this by memory, and I want to highlight this in this closing, with their characteristics: universal, integrated, sustainable. And the debate for today is around this. These information systems, it is something connected to the technology of information, and it contains the development of our country. Thank you very much. And so with this we conclude. Thank you to the technical team that remains here. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.